No one can destroy a person whom God has favored. The day you will know this is the day you will find peace. No one can destroy a person whom God has favored. No matter how hard you try to destroy them, it will only multiply their blessings. If you try to delay them, it will only fast forward them. If you try to lay cost on them, it will turn into a blessing. And if you try to frustrate them, you will only end up frustrated. No one can harm or destroy a person whom God has favored. In Genesis 37, the brothers of Joseph did all they could to destroy Joseph. But what they failed to realize was that Joseph was a person favored by God. They never realized that no one could destroy a person whom God has favored. This is not an old story. This is not an ancient happening. This is something that happens every day in our lives. It happens in our families, among siblings and relatives. It happens in our workplaces, among colleagues. It happens in our religious communities, among the consecrated and the ordained. But we must never forget one thing, that no one can destroy a person whom God has favored. Even if you put such a person in a pit, as Joseph's brother did to Joseph, the person will still come out. To put a person in a pit is to do everything possible to pull that person down. To put a person in a pit is to spread rumors and falsehood against that person. To put a person in a pit is to cast aspersions upon the person's integrity. And the scripture says in Psalm 57 verse 6 that they dug a pit in my path, but they fell in it themselves. If you try to accuse such persons, the accusations will fall back on you. If you set traps for them, you will fall into that trap because they are favored by God. And if you try to send them off to Egypt, as Joseph's brothers sold Joseph to Egypt, it will still turn into a blessing. To sell off a person to Egypt is to post the person to another place where his dreams will not come true. To sell off a person to Egypt is to take the person to positions and roles and responsibilities that will kill the person's potentials. To sell off the person to Egypt is to exclude the person in contracts, financial supports, and opportunities. To sell off the person to Egypt is to demote or dismiss or expel the person. But whether you put such a person in a pit or you send the person off to Egypt, you can never destroy that person. The person will excel anywhere and everywhere because no one can destroy a person whom God has favored. Saint John Chrysostom was banished from the city to the bush. But what the people failed to realize was that he was a man favored by God. And because he was favored by God, he turned that bush into a place of spring. Because he was favored by God, he turned that bush into a place of abundance. Because he was a man favored by God, he turned even that bush into a place of divine favor. And people were coming from the city into the bush. And he ended up turning that bush into a city. And he made a very powerful statement that no one can destroy a person who has not first destroyed himself. The only person who can destroy a person whom God has favored is the very person himself or herself. And that was why the only person who could destroy Samson was Samson himself. Know this and know peace. No one can destroy a person whom God has favored.